Doing good.
Hey, it's a holiday Memorial Day weekend. You got any plans?
No
You gonna
plans.
barbecue, drink some beers?
Maybe some beach time
Oh,
since we're
nice,
like,
nice.
because
It's
it's right there.
it's warm. It's warm enough.
It's not. It's actually, well, you see, I got a sweatshirt on.
Yeah,
I mean, we were just in New Jersey, and Jersey was like what, 70 degrees, 70 some
yeah.
degrees, and then Florida, woo, man, that was like 88.
Too
It's like
hot,
close
too
to
hot.
90. And
Yeah,
then here is like 60 to 70, somewhere
that's
around
about what it is here. So I don't know. I'm not going
there.
to the beach today. Uh,
It's right there. Maybe go
it's
surf or
true.
something. I don't know.
Um, so today I want to talk about some cool stuff. I got me one of these EcoFlow lithium generators, and I've been putting it on the channel. I did some videos with it. Uh, it's they're basically Wi-Fi connected, so you can do like home automation. I've connected it to Home Assistant. I'll show like how I did that real quick. Let's see. Yeah. So I connected it to Home Assistant. That's the EcoFlow River too. What it looks like, just like a little brick.
Are you
Um,
sharing your? Are you
yeah, I'm
sharing that?
sure. I
Okay.
have a picture of it. It's just like a little. It's very small. It's about 250 watt hours in that thing. So it can run like a 250 watt device for 1 hour, let's say, right? Um, so I've got it set up in Home Assistant so I can like see, how much power is coming into it, how much power is going out. You can hook a solar panel up to basically charge this thing with solar or AC,
Yeah.
right? So it's pretty cool. Now, what I'm using it for is to back up my network connection. So if the power goes out, whenever we have a power outage, the internet will go down. Like I have a regular, cyber power UPS that maybe can run for like 10 minutes,
Yep.
right? And then the cable modem, the router, the APs, the switches all shut off, right? So I get like
Yeah.
10 minutes now with this EcoFlow. If I plug it in to my ESG510, my cable modem for Xfinity,
Yep.
my ECS2520 FP, and my ECW336, which is plugged into the ESG. That whole thing's pulling about 75 watts, 75 watts, right? So that EcoFlow will run those for over 2 hours, right? If I have all that.
Yep.
So the power cuts out, the EcoFlow takes over immediately. Like it's basically just gonna switch over, not quite as fast as UPS, but none of the network equipment will go down. It'll
Yeah, that's
stay up
awesome.
until that battery's depleted, and then it'll just cut off, which isn't a problem for network equipment. There's no
Yeah.
hard drives in there, right? So
Right.
it'll back that up perfectly. Now, what I'm thinking is I don't even need the ECS 2520 FP in there because the ESG510 has a PoE out on it, right? So I can
But it's
power
just a single port though.
just a single port. So yeah, I plug the. Well, I mean, this is what it'd be used for. Like in a small office, you'd have one AP, an ECW336, the ESG510, and then your cable modem or your fiber,
Yeah.
terminator or whatever. And
For a
those three.
single AP like deployment, right?
Yeah, single AP deployment. So like in a small office or even a home, like
Like
you,
I would say small retail too, like a
small
boutique
retail
kind of
store,
store.
yeah, you could. So if you put in like one of these little EcoFlow River twos, it would back that up for 5, 6, 7 hours probably. Just those devices, right? So if you have like a mission critical, you want to keep your Wi-Fi going when the power's out.
Yeah,
That's a great
more
way.
importantly, like your POS system, like not POS system, but like the 510 has the capability of doing cellular too, right?
Right, right. So yeah, if you let's say you had a store with a POS system, the power was cut, and maybe the internet's still on, or maybe it's not. You could use that cellular failover on the ESG also, and run for probably a whole day on just that little river too.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
So yeah, I like that. I'm gonna do some more videos with it. I'll put the video I did up here to show the testing I was doing on that. But Yeah, that's pretty good. It's not so great as a computer UPS because a couple things. It doesn't cut over as fast as a UPS if the power gets cut. Like the whole thing with an old school UPS is it has like a, I don't know, it's like a 3 millisecond cutover time, I think, so that computer never even sees the power sag, right? Like it'll cut over immediately. It doesn't run for a long time. Maybe it's only got maybe 10 minutes that can run your desktop computer and monitor. But then
For how long?
maybe like 10 minutes. Because they're really not that big. They're 600 to 900 VA. So it can really run like a desktop computer for maybe 10 minutes. But then when the power is almost depleted in that, it's connected to the PC with a USB that will basically tell the PC that the UPS is, reaching critical and is shut down, so it doesn't crash the PC. You don't lose any data. Yeah. So that's where those old school UPSs still make sense. You still need to have one on a desktop. Laptop's fine; it's got its own battery, but on a desktop you need to have that UPS because you don't want to lose your hard drive. Even if it's an SSD, if you just cut power, you're going to probably, have some corrupt data. So anyway, don't want to get boring on that. But so what else do we want to talk about?
So we had our cloud summit last week, right? So one of the hot topics I think were like these PDUs.
Yeah, another power device.
Yeah, this is a cloud PDU. This is 14 outlets. We have another one that's 6 outlets. Has 2 LAN interfaces. Has a LCD. You can actually control it through the LCD. But really, really important part of like the whole system, I think. You have the ability to kind of see kind of the power consumption.
Yeah.
You can see this all through the cloud. So you can see the power consumption. You can actually reboot a particular outlet if you need to. If you have a switch on there or something like that, it needs to be power cycled. It can be managed by cloud. It can be managed through the PDU interface, basically the local interface, and then through the LCD. So there's a number of ways that you can manage these things. Now you wanted to know like part numbers, but we're not like sharing part numbers right now. But yeah, there's two versions right now that we'll be launching here shortly. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, it was pretty good info. I mean, people are really excited about the PDU because one, like you said, it's cloud managed. You can control each individual outlet from the cloud. So you can cycle. And then it also gives you power consumption per outlet. So you can see like what each device is using. As power gets more expensive, that's important because you may want to shut things off after hours. Why leave? That's what I'm kind of noticing here. Why leave? If I leave a switch on in back here, like this switch with these laser printers, it's using 80 watts all the time. Like I could just shut that off when I'm not using it.
Yeah, that's a lot, right?
It's not that much. It adds up. I mean, it's probably
all through the night, like every day, all through the night.
Right, 80 hours. I mean, 80 watts continuous is a lot of wasted power. I mean, it's okay when you're using it, but
yeah.
So with that PDU, I'm gonna set it up so it'll shut off the laser printers or the switches that I'm not using, at night, like when I'm done working, right? So that's really cool. And the other thing about like redundancy, it's going to be able to like cycle the cable modem or the fiber switch if something goes down, right? It's be able to ping the internet, and that was really interesting.
Yeah, and so maybe we'll try to have one of our new PMs come online for like a Friday, one of these talks, right? I'll have Hans come in. He's our PDU guy.
Yeah, you definitely get him on. He'll be our first guest. Then we'll start branching out. But so the PDUs are really exciting. I mean, it's a new thing for EnGenius, but people are buying them. Like there's
people need them. We're finding out when we started to kind of talk about this at the summit and talk to individual customers that we work with. They're like, yeah, we need, this is something that we always need and we always install, but we just never really talk about it because we don't have it. So,
right.
But yeah, it's going to be, it's a huge bonus for us, huge add-on.
Sure. All right, so what else? We want to talk about Talk
The
about
other thing that came up during the summit are gateways, right? The
yeah,
expansion of the gateway line. So we have one that you're selling right now, the ESG510, right? But we'll have three other gateways come out, which is the ESG320, the ESG610. The 610 is coming out here shortly, and then the ESG620 as well. So 320, 510, 610, 620. So we're expanding majorly on the gateway side of things.
definitely, yeah. So one of them is going to be rack mountable, and maybe better for like an MDU, something like that, right? It can handle like that kind of traffic, that number of VLANs, right? Because for some of these MDUs, they want to have a VLAN per apartment or hotel room, right?
Not necessarily. Maybe we see it more so in the MDU space.
Okay.
Not necessarily hotels. Maybe they're doing that, but we haven't seen that. But
Okay.
or I haven't seen it personally. But yeah, so yeah, we'll have a rack mount. It'll be Intel quad core, 2.2 gigahertz. This have more memory, more flash storage. There will be 8 2.5 gigabit copper or Ethernet connections and 2 SFP connections. And this particular gateway will supply 4 of the ports will supply AFAT PoE. So that's another
4
huge benefit. Yep, that's the rack mountable one. And then firewall throughput is about 9.5 gigabit. So yeah, that is going to be a nice add-on. Now the 610, which is just above the 510, that'll have more memory, more flash, more VLANs. I think the current version is about 100 VLANs. The 610 will be around 250 VLANs, somewhere around there.
Right.
But it will be faster. It has the same port count, like 4 2.5 gigabit Ethernet ports.
And you guys talked about some of the new features coming in the gateways too, right? Like, so they're going to be expanding a lot on the features.
Yeah, feature set wise, they're adding a lot on the firewall side.
Yeah.
So we'll be adding more on that. If you give me a minute, I can maybe pull exactly what that is. I'm not sure.
Yeah, pull that up. And I mean, it fits in. It kind of slots in like to a great spot between like what's currently available, a consumer router or like enterprise router, right? Like which is like huge price difference between those and huge performance difference.
Yeah, we fit in a really nice space where, customers are finding that you can't buy like a consumer router to fit in like your business. And
right.
There's the high-end stuff that is
enterprise.
Just overkill, right?
Yeah,
it's just
overkill.
Too much, right?
It's
just overkill. So, so we're going to fit in a really nice area along with, it being cloud managed, right? And now you have a whole, basically what I've been saying is a whole ecosystem of like, now we have a PDU, a gateway, our switches, our switch line's growing. We have an aggregate switch now, and then our AP line, right? So definitely growing.
And if you had some other solution, like you have Fortinet or SonicWall, you can always stack those in between. Like if you're like, I already want this for my firewall, you can use the gateway for site-to-site VPN for and just be able to monitor and remotely troubleshoot, right?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely. Yeah, you can use it as basically a VPN concentrator, right? So the gateway has 2 modes, which we've talked about before. Those 2 modes are basically, you have routing mode, which is I would say, that's self-explanatory, and then you have pass-through mode. Pass-through mode, I can put it behind, a Fortinet, for example, and run it as a VPN concentrator at that point. And you can really utilize like the simplicity of the VPN site-to-site VPN tool that we have within our system and the auto healing. So that's a major bonus. I mean, you can set up a VPN and a site-to-site VPN in like a couple of clicks.
Yeah,
I mean, you and I have done it.
We've done it.
I've